Heroes of the Dorm.
Other teams just don't have the chemistry that we have.
You really have to be in sync with your team and know what everyone's doing.
I don't want to just win the region, I want to win the tournament.
Hello and welcome back to Heroes of the Dorm, Atlantic Coast region, a fun and exciting addition to North America's premier collegiate esports competition. My name is Paul Inverum Toddkill, joined here by
Albert Lauren Haley III. But we're not alone. Later on, we'll be bringing out Brontosaurus Mitchell. We like to call him the professor around here.
He's got that notebook of infinite knowledge, bringing us all the statistics.
Heroes of the Dorm is a competition where collegiate hopefuls compete for almost $500,000 in scholarships and prizing. You definitely want to try to get that free college tuition.
Absolutely. I know back in the day I competed in this tournament. The thought of winning and paying for my college just by playing video games, it's fantastic.
Not too shabby, but here at the Atlantic Coast region, we like to feature teams along the South that you may recognize. But this is week number 5, the last week for the regular season. It's all on the line. This is where these teams have to make their stand.
Let's take a look at our standings here in the Atlantic Coast region and see how things are shaping up. As you can see here, the cream of the crop has risen to the top, but of course there's some teams that are fighting for their shot here. They're kind of on the bubble, and that's where we're going to be looking today.
Yeah, the team we're featuring today is Virginia Tech. Invent the meta. Everything is on the line for this squad. They need to make something happen now, not only within their region, but also on the national stage.
They're looking in pretty good standings, but with this last week, things tend to really fall into place. They need to secure this win to secure their spot in the round of 64. Let's talk a bit about the round of 64, shall we? Because we haven't really talked a whole lot about the overarching tournament, but this is how Heroes of the Dorm works. We have our initial starting season. We have our 5 weeks of group stages. From there, we secure our top 64 teams across North America as a whole. From there, they will play out every week, round of 32, 16, 8, etc., all the way down to our heroic 4, our live finals, and that is going to be exciting. You can find all the information where to watch at heroesofthedorm.com. But of course, today's show is all about Virginia Tech. They are going up against Missouri because this is a national matchup, and they're currently ranked 51. But you need to be in the top 49 to secure that spot in the round of 64.
Oh, it's close. Everything is on the line now for Virginia Tech. If they get this match, their chances of making it to the round of 64 can only increase. There's a lot of pressure for Invent the Meta.
A lot of pressure indeed. We're going to sit down and talk with the team, learn more about them on today's show. Here's the Dorm, Atlantic Coast region. Hello and welcome back to Heroes of the Dorm, Atlantic Coast region.
Next up, we're going to meet Andrew Chin. I like to call him the captain of community service. Let's hear his thoughts on what it's like to be a freshman and a newcomer to this team.
One of the 8 pylons is Ut Prosim for Virginia Tech, and it's that I may serve. That's really one of the key traits that Virginia Tech students have. It's just people offering helping hands to each other where other people are weak, and that's what makes a strong community.
What you're doing, you not only just feed people, you have taken care of persons who will be in it.
If you base the community off of helping each other out, where can you go wrong?
Everybody got to work as a team. I got food, put it in that box. Somebody got a candy box, you put it in the candy box.
Today we're packaging food and then sending it all over Virginia.
We go through it, we clean it, we wipe it off, pre-sort it, then we go through, we check dates on it. We do this probably, it's all about quality control here.
I think it started in middle school. Like I was a part of this church group, and they offered a work camp. And so we got to go to different states, help and work in less fortunate areas. I feel like that really planted a seed in me that wanted to help the community. What is this? Sweets?
Gum sweets, yeah.
Today I met Nick, and he was leading VT Engage, and we just packed up food, and they're gonna put it on a truck about Monday or Tuesday, and it will be feeding at least 4,000 people. You're gonna pull out this back corner here? There you go.
There we go. Look at that, you're a natural.
Nick, I think I'm gonna take your position.
Oh, dude, go for it. We need more people. We need a lot more people for this. VT Engage is a community service organization that focuses on service learning. So we want people who volunteer with us not to just go do some volunteering. We want people to learn about what they're doing and why they're doing it.
All right, give us a good picture. Come on here. That's a good picture there.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, on that Facebook. Hey, everybody gonna talk about us today.
Yes,
that. That's a
forever.
Good one. Yeah, the two Andrews.
James, he did a good job teaching me how to use the forklifts.
Andrew, the first thing what you do with this right in here,
right.
bring it, take it in here just like this.
He's really passionate about what he does, and he's a really happy guy, probably the happiest guy I've ever met.
There you go, start puffing, just like you're there working out in Gold's Gym.
Okay.
Come all the way in. There you go, you got it, man, you got it. You did good, Andrew, thank you, brother.
It really boosts my morale to see so much food go out to everybody, especially those in need. Getting out this food to so many people is just really nice. Gaming came into my life back whenever I was 8. My cousin gave me his PlayStation 1 when the PlayStation 2 came out, so we just played a bunch of violent video games and my parents weren't happy with that, and that was the beginning of the end. I got into PC gaming only for Heroes, actually. I started playing PC games after I started playing Heroes, which is like sophomore year of high school. We've walked it in, that's fine. Get out, get out, get out. Back out, back out, back out, back out. It takes a while to get really good at a MOBA if you've never played a MOBA before. Whenever you're playing video games, the thing that makes it great isn't the game itself, but rather like the bonding time you have with your friends. Heroes really help me bond, team play. Just if somebody's out of position, we dive that. Greyman, come down, we're gonna force an engage bot. We're outnumbered here, we're outnumbered here.
So Andrew's our tank player. He's really lively. In a game, he's making most of the shot calls. He's like, we need to do this, we need to do that, and make sure we get in and get out.
He brings a lot of energy to our team.
Go, 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 go. Whoa, 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 sidewall, sidewall, sidewall.
Even just from the first day when we all met, he was just always there talking, like ready to go. And he was like, all right, we're gonna practice on these days, we're gonna analyze this. And after not doing this in other years, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Like, let's just get those confirmed kills. Nobody gets away at low HP. Considering this is my first year in Heroes of the Dorm, and I'm really looking forward to the more years to come. I really just study the game. It's all practice and grinding it out.
It's fantastic to see Andrew Chen, as a freshman, already being that leader in his community. He also sits down with children in surgery waiting rooms, plays games with them to help them get over that trauma.
To me, Andrew Chen shatters the mold on what it means to be a collegiate gamer. Most times you think of someone sitting in their dorm room, lights dark, just playing video games and eating snacks. But no, he breaks that trend by going out and having a huge impact in his community. I think that's really cool.
And we're going to meet the rest of the team as well over on Virginia Tech. That and more when we return with Heroes of the Dorm, Atlantic Coast Region. Hello and welcome back to Heroes of the Dorm, Atlantic Coast Region.
Next up, we'll meet VT Invent the Meta. We'll find out what it's like to represent the collegiate football powerhouse over at Virginia Tech.
Her name is VT Invent the Meta, and we don't really play by the meta rules.
We're one of the best teams, and so we're competing at a higher level.
In Clemson game 1, we lose the very first, the early game really hard.
Ooh, goodbye. Oh, no, that's just not fair.
We lose all 3 of our towers. I wasn't really thinking anything about it. Like, we're fine. We have this still. And one of the key defining moments is we get that talent tier equality.
Meanwhile, 70 gems are in the pockets for Virginia Tech. That means they should be able to get this turn in up top.
We move up to turn in, and the coordination was amazing. I go, okay guys, we got a zone, we're turning in one by one. One by one. I move up, take the front, Tyrell goes down to the bottom, uses his Q, blocks them off, I stand there, W people away as ETC, and we have this wall. Like, I feel like we're in like 300 and we have this wall around this one person turning in. And he turns in and we go, okay, go, rotate, next. Subs out, turns in, subs out, turns in. And it was just one of the most team strategy games I've ever seen in my entire life. It's so rewarding to play so well that you can turn in one by one and hold off the entire enemy team like a shield.
Genji and Kel'Thas are going to have the game in their life to try to turn this around, but it's not going to be enough, Source. We see Virginia Tech take this game.
And I just felt so good. I was like, we have it. We did it. This is how you play Heroes.
Andrew brings tons and tons of energy to the team. He's the one that like brought us all together.
I asked people if they wanted to play, and people signed up. And a day later, Josh from Raycom contacted me. He was like, "Hey, do you want to be on TV?" And I was like, I don't have a team yet. But yeah, sure, I'll be on TV.
Even just from the first day when we all met, he was just always there talking like, all right, we're gonna practice on these days, we're gonna analyze this.
Good job, good job. All right, he's low, we'll take it back up,
I've actually done this tournament 3 times already. In the past years, we just kind of did it for fun. They weren't nearly as good as this team. This team is a lot better. We try and practice, we analyze matches. Before, I've never done that.
But it's really nice to have it more organized this year so that we can play at a higher level.
There's no reason to even kill our own waves if we're all the way pushed back to our core.
Tim plays a lot of more damage-based characters. We've played with each other throughout the years. So he's kind of prepping the kills and he's kind of in the back with me.
We're a very aggressive team, and when we go in, it's do or die.
So I'll make sure that if I'm back there, he's gonna die too. If we both die, we're both going down together.
I have no way out, I have no out, I'm trying to get out.
There were multiple teams that wanted to represent Virginia Tech in Heroes of the Dorm, so we played a 2 out of 3 match with the tournament rules. No, push this in, camp's here.
No one was really nervous on our team. They were all very focused and they knew what they needed to do. No one panicked and like, oh my God, this is like our first big match. Like if we're out, this is it.
We had practiced a little bit before, and they were all really strong players.
I wasn't really that nervous playing against them. I knew we had to. Then I did some research on them too and saw their skill level was below ours.
No, they all stayed focused and we all played well. And there's a certain air of confidence that we all have. It feels really nice to tell your friends, yeah, I'm representing Virginia Tech for an esports game and we're ranked really high right now. And you get that pride of being the face for your school again.
It's great to see the team coming out with that hokey high spirit, representing their school. Of course, we're joined now by Braun, the Source Mitchell. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Glad to be here, and it's good to see these guys have a bit of fun, but show that they can take things up a notch, be a little bit more serious when the time comes.
Yeah, Virginia Tech is a very competitive school. Actually, VT Invent the Meta had to compete against another team just to represent Virginia Tech. I actually live in Northern Virginia, and it's so cool. Whenever I'm out on the highway, I always see those VT logos. There's no shortage of pride down in Blacksburg.
Now we're going to hop into our highlights from game number 1 as VT Invent the Meta are taking on Missouri. Let's get into the action. We're starting off on game number 1 here on Battlefield of Eternity. And already off the bat, I have to say, Virginia Tech going with a bit of a more unconventional draft.
Unconventional, to say the very least. We have some action right out of the gate, first 2 minutes of the game. Tim for Virginia Tech wants to take the fight to Eraser Joe, and it looks like we're seeing some ground support show up.
Yeah, whole team's gonna get a rotation, or at least 2 of the members. 2 of the free-floating members who were able to show up to that, and they'll manage to pick up 1 kill, take a second, start gaining some control here in the early game.
Moving on, later on in the game, we see that the Immortal gets picked up by Missouri. They're looking to see what damage they can do. This could be a huge momentum swing.
Missouri is pushing in strong here onto the wall of Virginia Tech. They're trying to stand strong, get some range damage, but they don't have a whole lot to work with. They have a pretty heavy frontline engaged composition here, and Missouri is really keeping up this pressure.
Missouri looks very disciplined. They're waiting for the right opportunity like that. A stun on Tiro could definitely be the green light. Not Andrew. ETC eats a lot of damage. That range poke from Missouri is real right now.
Yeah, and it's a high poke team from the side of Missouri. Once they manage to gain a little bit of control, as we can see, Not Andrew just gets poked down once 1 bit of CC lands, either the root from Malfurion or the ice from Matic on the Arthas.
Missouri's doing a really good job of limiting the options of ETC. He's the front line. He's the tank. He wants to stick himself out there and eat that damage, and he's doing a pretty good job of that, all things considered. But later on, we see Tim in a bit of trouble again.
Once again, Tim getting caught out here, not in ideal position, all really from a great rotation here for Missouri, catching him off guard. So as we approach level 10 here, this is really important. Missouri wants to get that heroic talent tier advantage, and they want to use that to push it onto their opponents. But not Andrews going in, but in the back line as well, Blaze is trying to isolate Tim. Once again, Tim is constantly being under pressure here.
The attention on Virginia Tech is split, and it's going to lead to ETC getting taken down first. This is a huge opportunity for Missouri to capitalize, and they're going to take down Tyrell as well.
And much of that play led from the fact that Virginia Tech needed to find an opportunity before the members of Missouri were able to hit 10. Now we see them at level 11, pushing in with this Immortal that they had just captured, and they've got complete control of the map.
The march is on once again for Missouri. They have their heroic tier advantage. They're going to look to see what they can find. Bunker goes out. Nice range poke, and the arrow from Power could definitely set things off.
Matic is going in here trying to find Ana, but actually the takedown from Wenkong. There's one, there's two, the resets from Li Ming, finding all 3 takedowns. Wenkong going off in this fight.
Wenkong's an absolute playmaker for Missouri. Exhibit A to make sure all that is believed. The nice stun and root into the silence on Greymane. Missouri looks like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, this was a coordinated set of pokes into roots. They were able to set up enough of a front line so the Li Ming and the Hanzo had space to operate, and just Missouri looked clean.
Virginia Tech is going to have to try to do something different going into the next game if they want to turn this around, because they're against some very strong competition.
There's a lot on the line here with this, but in the end, Missouri takes game number 1. Missouri came out of the gate swinging in game number 1. They did not give Virginia Tech even a little room to breathe.
Yeah, but we can't count Virginia Tech out yet. That was only game 1. If they want to turn things around, they need to be of one accord. We saw an instance where not Andrew Power slid out, but the rest of the team wasn't there, and Missouri's going to capitalize on something like that every time.
And a play like that is coming from a place of desperation for these guys. They were behind. They'd gotten picked out in the top lane multiple times. The Ana was having trouble healing in the bottom lane in that 4-man. So they got put under a lot of pressure, and they started to crumble a little bit in the matchup.
There is definitely a lot of pressure put onto this match, but it's not over yet. We're going to hop into game number 2 here in just a little bit, here on Heroes of the Dorm, Atlantic Coast Region.
Started sniffing it out.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy. Ben.
We kind of just take the week off from school, relax. Going on a hike in the Cascades. We get a chance to go out and do stuff we don't have time to do because we're either working on the weekends or school during the day.
It's nice just to kind of get away from the hustle and bustle of campus with as many students, and there's multiple trails, so you can just kind of get away from it for a little bit.
It's peaceful out here. It definitely gives you a break from all the stress of being near campus all the time. And just to come out here kind of puts you back to earth again. I'm here, Ben. Oh my God, was that scary? This is basically my child almost. It's the best thing ever is just taking him out and seeing him be happy, because being in an apartment or just going outside to throw a frisbee every now and then is not enough. Like, he needs to experience the world too. No person can replace what a dog is there for. Always having someone that always wants to see you 24/7 is the best thing ever.
No! Oh, you can just walk around, which is a lot easier. It's a lot easier just to walk around.
It reinforces that it's more than just a game. This is also our friendship and brings us together better.
We are friends on the game, but then that can transform into an actual real friendship in real life.
So right now we have one in Chicago. We had one that was in Connecticut, and we have another one in Tennessee. So we're kind of all over the place.
This week is Virginia Tech spring break, and so I'm here back at home playing in Heroes of the Dorm. This distance doesn't really affect us terribly because we still play through the internet and communicate over Discord.
That's the beauty of scheduling these matches, is we get to play wherever, whenever, if we want to. We don't all have to be in the same place, and cuts down on the travel costs and anything like that.
We started strong and won 4 games in a row in the region, and then lost the last 2 matches to great teams, FSU and Notre Dame. The key to get a couple victories to get into the top 64 is to draft together, play our strengths, and make sure we stay as a team in order to not get ganked and be able to force good team fights.
I mean, lots of communication. We're not going to be over talking anyone, and we're going to be confident in our decision making. We fix that. We're a little more confident in ourselves and our decisions, and we're going with it, whether it's the right call or the wrong call, where it's do or die.
We're here now with game number 2. It all comes down to this. Virginia Tech needs to pull out a win here. Missouri is looking strong, but I think they can do this.
Every match is a best of 3, so this very well could be Virginia Tech's last opportunity to make a name for themselves on the national stage and make it to the round of 64.
I'd say the biggest thing for them to be able to make the comeback here is how they're going to handle their internal communications, how they're going to push themselves past this, because game 1 was fairly dominant.
They need to come out here in game number 2 looking strong. Let's take a look at this Missouri roster here. I got a chance to talk to Racer Joe, and he's actually really happy with this team that he put together. He feels confident, despite the fact that, you know, they've had mixed runs in previous years. He thinks they're going to do well this time. Well, looking at the side of Virginia Tech now, if they can isolate that, if they can, you know, ban them out or pick those heroes, he might be in trouble. But Virginia Tech, we got a chance to obviously talk to some of these players. They need to be positive here in game number 2. And if there's anybody who's going to be positive, it's that man himself there, not Andrew. We got a chance to talk to him earlier, obviously. And seems like a great guy, bringing that positive energy to his squad.
Yeah, he also has one of the most original names in the entire tournament. But Andrew is that newcomer, that fresh face on this team. They do have a nice mix of new talent with experience. They could definitely turn things around.
Let's actually talk about all the roles here on the teams, just in case those at home aren't quite familiar with them. An assassin, they deal a high amount of damage, either in short bursts or over time, but they don't have a lot of health to deal with. They're really the ones making big plays, and then the back line for their teams.
And then there's my favorite, the warrior, hanging out in the front line, taking damage as well as dishing it out. They set up huge opportunities for their team.
Following that, you have the supports. They both protect the back line with defensive capabilities as well as heal up the team to keep them in the fight as long as possible.
Last but not least, we have the specialists. They fill in the gaps in a squad, usually focused around pushing, but they can also deal damage and offer some utility for their teams. Let's take a look at the roster now here for Missouri as we get into our game number 2 here on Towers of Doom. Jorlub is going to be on Malfurion, Eraser Joe on Tracer, Macdak on Leoric, Wenkong on Stitches this time, and Power No. This is a very different draft than we saw in game number 1.
Yeah, Missouri has a lot going on with this composition. Tracer's one of those heroes that has a ton of mobility and normally is going to be the star of the show, but Stitches can also pull people out of position and make big plays for their team.
Especially on a map like this where people have to stand there and channel that objective, to channel the Shrine to be able to get off the shots on Towers of Doom. You've got the Chromie for the interrupt, but that Stitches follow-up. Also maybe some slowing sands, the time loop. There's a couple options for them.
Yeah, Virginia Tech is definitely going to have their work cut out for them with this lineup here. Let's take a look at their draft as well here. Tim for Virginia Tech on Hanzo, DTY on Lucio, Doctor on Blaze, not Andrew on Diablo, and Jack V1 on Greymane. This seems like a more standard composition, something we're used to seeing here.
Invent the Meta definitely are asserting their confidence with this composition. Diablo being able to shadow charge, find someone against the wall with the follow-up from heroes like Greymane and Hanzo. They're definitely looking to make a statement in these team fights.
This also opens them up to the strategy that they were just up against. They were up against the Blaze and the Hanzo, and we had spoken about it a little bit, just thinking about how that kind of works. It's a huge amount of pressure, and now it's on the side of Virginia Tech.
It is indeed, and it's all going to come down to this battleground here as well, playing around the objectives. The map is Towers of Doom. This is one of our more unique battlegrounds here, Lauren.
Yeah, and you definitely want an aggressive composition on this battleground. You're not going to be able to play around your opponent. Those fights over the altars are always critical. I definitely think we're going to see some fireworks.
This is also the only battleground where you cannot end by pushing the core. You have to get those objectives, those altars you see there, and by controlling those bell towers, you gain more or less shots, depending on how much pressure you've put on the map.
This is the game for all the marbles. If Virginia Tech wants to secure their spot in the round of 64, they need to bring this one home. Let's get into it. Game number 2 here on Towers of Doom.
Over on the left side, we're going to have Missouri full send. It'll be Malfurion being played by Jorlub. Eraser Joe's on Tracer. Macdax playing Leoric. Wenkong is looking to pull people on Stitches. And Powered will be playing Chromie.
And over on the right side, in the red, we've got the members from Virginia Tech. VT Invent the Meta. It's going to be Tim on the Hanzo, DTY on the Lucio, Dr. D on the Blaze, not Andrew on the Diablo, and Jake V1 on the Greymane.
This is very much a more standard draft here coming out for the side of Virginia Tech. Lucio has been looking very strong right now, and there's so much mobility potential here on the side of Virginia Tech. I feel like they'll be a lot more flexible in these fights.
Yeah, this is definitely a more measured composition, but with so much on the line, I think you want to go for a more standard setup. Diablo can definitely get some nice shadow charges, set things up for Virginia Tech, and do well.
Yeah, and in the post 10, you've got 3 really solid go buttons. Blaze can just walk at the enemy team, gets off that propulsion charge. You've got the shadow charge, APOC combo from Diablo. You've got the arrow from Hanzo. Assuming they go with all of the standard heroics, they really set themselves up to dictate the pace of the game.
There's a lot more crowd control on the side of Virginia Tech this time around as well. Something I think they were lacking a little bit in their last game. Crowd control, obviously the ability to stun, root, slow, silence your opponents. Just basically stop them from doing what they want to do.
Missouri's roaming around as a 4-person unit. Wincon goes for the hook and manages to pull Lucio, but he's got the boop and the speed into the root, though. However, we do see Diablo come in there and make sure that DTY gets out.
Now Andrew taking a lot of damage, though. This is the job of the tank, to take damage and peel for your team, keeping the opponents from doing damage to your squishy backliners, like somebody like a Lucio here. They're definitely looking a lot more comfortable here, especially considering Missouri has yet to find a pick.
This is already a really dangerous precedent for the side of Virginia Tech. When we talk about the difficulty of compositions, we talk about high execution versus low execution. Virginia Tech is low execution. They know the straightforward way to make their fight. The side of Missouri, they're already showing they can land those max range hooks. They can set up that damage.
I like the idea of Virginia Tech being aggressive. Invent a meta looks to invent an invasion, and they're actually able to come away with it, but it's going to cost them Diablo.
Diablo is going to fall from the Pulse Bomb Tracer, and the nice hook following up there onto Jack V1 as well. Chromie is doing so much damage throughout. Powered has been hitting skill shots left and right.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Chromie games from Powered, I think it was something closer to like 100 or so.
Woo.
Just in terms of individual play, not necessarily in competition. So that's a lot to be said.
I really like the mindset from Invent the Meta, though. If they lose this game, they are no longer in control of their destiny to make it to the round of 64. What better way than try to make things happen to be on the offensive, to make plays yourself? That's how they're going to win this game.
It is indeed, but already now, Virginia Tech, again, is still playing just a little bit more passive. They got burned a little bit there trying to go for this invade. That might kind of shape the way they want to play this now. Wenkong, we saw the big plays being made on Li Ming in that last round, and now he's stepping up. They're taking a lot of damage as well, but dishing it in return. Chromie is there, going to miss the hook as Jack B and friends are going to leave, but Diablo is now caught out deep behind enemy lines.
Careful. Eraser Joe's also a huge factor. Diablo is trying to take the long scenic route home. DTY comes around for the boop. Wincong looking for the interrupt. There's the zoning route as well. Diablo goes down again.
And we saw in the middle of that fight, that was very calm, slow play from the side of Missouri. Virginia Tech looked a little flustered. They were moving around a lot, but you saw Malfurion and Chromie. They were sentries. They stayed right where they needed to be, did the damage, and that's how they managed to pick out Andrew.
Missouri finds themselves in a position where in team fights, they actually want Diablo to stand stationary. With Powered in the back as Chromie, that long-range artillery fire is going to be a huge distraction. Any Eraser Joe can jump in there and go off.
Comparing Chromie to artillery, I think, is the apt comparison. Chromie really wants to be far back in these fights, some damage in long range. She may be small, she's a gnome, but she hits hard.
Well, is she a gnome? She's more of a dragon.
Okay,
That's
she's a dragon pretending to be a gnome.
It's a lot of damage coming out from Chromie. It's a very difficult target for them to dive in their current position. Yes, you say Greymane's got great dive. Blaze can do it. Diablo can do it. But there's a lot of counter crowd control. They go in like that. Malfurion's going to be watching for them, and it gets more and more dangerous for Virginia Tech until they hit 10.
These unsuccessful attempts at team fighting is going to cost Virginia Tech a potential tier disadvantage. And again, not Andrew is found rotating towards the bottom lane. Diablo's being isolated consistently and taken down.
I believe that once again started off with a great hook from Wenkong there. These Stitches hooks, we talked about them a bit in the draft. It's all about getting your opponent out of position. And for some newer players, when they find themselves caught out like that, they don't necessarily know how to respond. They might panic a little bit, and maybe we're seeing a bit of that here.
It doesn't even matter about just being a new player. When you play things like a Diablo, you have to be very, very sure of yourself when you make a movement like that. And not every player is going to be prepared to abuse someone like Diablo or Blaze's movement. They can really only go one direction, and that's forward.
Well, Missouri's going around as a 4-person unit and making big things happen for them. With Diablo on the side of Invent the Meta, I feel like they should do the same. A little bit of a scrap here going on. Macdac eats some damage. Tim's going to hit the jump over the wall to avoid that long-range artillery fire, but Powered's on the chase. Here comes Lucio.
Lucio's here to get his team out of a rough position. Nicely done, though, forcing back Eraser Tro on that Tracer. But we talk about these rotations now, and these are super important, especially as both of these altars are spawning in the top lane.
Yeah, and Lucio's going to give Virginia Tech the space to be able to do quick rotations, get people in and out of trouble. They just have to worry about
He's
things
got
like
a
that
body
hook.
block. He knows
There's
he's
a
going for
nice
the delay
hook.
with that.
Follow-up stun goes in onto Stitches. Powered again does a lot of damage on the back line. Eraser Joe's going to chase someone out of there. Not Andrew goes for the flip, tries to get isolation. The altar is going to get picked up, but it could cost him heroes.
The Warriors are taking so much damage here. They're trying to escape. The hook is back though. Once again, finding Hanzo. The team is trying to feel for him, but he is going to fall. And actually at the cost of potential other members of the side here at Virginia Tech, this is not ideal. They're chasing Not Andrew all the way to the ends of the earth. Eraser Joe trying to make the plays, but is going to fall.
It's a dangerous place for them to be fighting in this area, but I'd say the side of Missouri got what they wanted. Even though Virginia Tech managed to get the channel off, that's a huge experience lead. Level 10 will be coming in. Those heroic abilities will be there for Missouri sooner rather than later, and they're already starting to spread out on the map and get more control.
Missouri's playing this battleground very well right now. They're on their way to having that heroic advantage. That means the plays they've already been making could be that much more dangerous for a team who's looking to keep their destiny alive going into the round of 64.
Kind of feel like we're watching a little bit of game number 1 again here. Ahead is Missouri. They're going to have these heroics in a second, and this is going to be rough. Virginia Tech needs to stay composed, needs to stay back, soak, get level 10 themselves, and not be the aggressors.
Two show mid. Where are the other three?
The problem with Virginia Tech's composition in the last game is they didn't have the tools.
We're just gonna have to give two people top.
They have a
Somebody else
lot of
rotate
fight
down.
capability this time around. They should be able to fight.
They're also
back
10. We
slow
can't really
and
contest it.
conservative play like you're saying.
In an instance like this,
Just give this what's it called, and let's just get soaked back.
You got to make sure it's successful, or else you're going to find yourself falling behind.
Don't get hooked.
As we see right now. Anytime Missouri is able to have a successful response, get a few takedowns
hook,
themselves,
it's all picks.
that means heroes aren't
Anything.
committed to
Eraser
soaking
comes in,
experience.
puts
And
her
with
back.
this advantage, I don't think Invent the Meta can really make a play for this altar.
We talked about the Aldous here. If you look up at the top of your screen, 32 HP to 28 right now for the side of Missouri. They're pushing in onto this bottom bell tower here. Controlling these bell towers gives your altars more shots, which means you're putting even more pressure in towards your opponent's team's core.
Yeah, and how you play control in this bottom lane has been something that's developed on Towers of Doom since the introduction of the map. Having control of this bottom area allows you to both control the altar, get the shots, but you can also fight over your opponent's mercenary camp.
Tracer middle.
This is an important moment for Virginia Tech. I'm really
Tracer.
curious to hear what kind of
Tracer,
shot calling they
Tracer.
have, because the captain of this
That's it.
team has to keep their team coordinated, focused. They have another opportunity. They now have their heroics. The next team fight could very well
What am I
determine.
defend mid.
They've got sound
I can't
barrier,
see
they've
back.
got the arrow,
You
they've
good?
got the apocalypse. They have the tools now in their tool belt.
You're walking back
to go
into
in and
their
engage
tower.
upon their opponents. And Jorlov actually needs to be careful here. Jack one. There's the arrow going in. Nicely done, picking up that first takedown there. But there's a time trap
Back up,
going in
he
on to
can.
Grayman.
No,
There's still- they're
oh
trying
my
to go for
God.
him, but he's in trouble.
Jack B1's going to jump into the bunker
Hey,
for
that
the
was
escape,
fine what
but
you
it's
did
not
because it
going to
stopped.
work. He pops out and gets blown up.
Bunker?
There's the entomb.
No.
New York says, you're not going anywhere, Doctor. We're going to go ahead and prescribe a beatdown, and with a swipe of the mace, Blaze goes down.
Great opening from the side of Virginia Tech. They got the lot of
I'm
damage
here.
on Malfurion.
I
They
said I had to
throw
be,
in the arrow
and
that
then y'all
might
died.
have been a little bit too much. It's possible that Tim could have done it without necessarily committing the heroic, but they found the pick. After that, though, Missouri was ready to collapse, and we see them fully aware of what they need to do on the map. They win the fight, they get the boss.
They're already going for this boss, which is going to put more shots into the opponent's core because, of course, Virginia Tech has to deal with this bell tower in the bottom lane. The longer that is there, the more control Missouri has in the battleground.
The story of this game so far for Invent the Meta is they see a potential opportunity, they try to capitalize on it, and Missouri's there with a sound response. Heads up play there by Greymane to go in on the Malfurion, but he was low. He was caught out of position afterwards, and then Missouri again turns things around.
The fight was good, the timing was bad. If he had more teammates near him, that play turns very much in favor of the side of Virginia Tech. So that means either they're not communicating where everybody is on the map, or it was one of those opportunities to look for just kind of that solo play, and the fact that people showed up to back them up might have actually cost them in the end.
Well, both teams are trying to show up now because this altar is super important. As level 13 is around the corner here for Missouri, Jorlub is trying to channel this out, though. Canceled, though, for now. Going to try and channel this as Blaze is going into the top. Being pressure, though, is in the bottom as Lucio's going in, but Jack B1 is being saved there with the sound barrier. Beautifully done.
That sound barrier is going to maybe not save Greymane after all. The long-range snipe from Powered is on point. That's going to net the 9th takedown. The chase is on for the rest of Virginia Tech. A nice hook. There's the root afterwards. Malfurion stepping forward, hits the Twilight Dream, and Diablo goes down again.
If they had a slightly more mobile composition, I'd say fighting from multiple angles can be an advantage. But that was a completely split fight. When you have a composition like Blaze and Diablo, you want everybody just charging in as one unit so that you follow up with the arrow, you get the APOC, and everything comes together.
Really the problem there was the fact that, as you said, they were split. They were attacking on 2 different fronts, but the pincer movement did not work in their favor. Lucio tried to come in, tried to bring the team together, but ended up getting caught out. Had to drop the sound barrier early. The pressure from the Tracer has been huge this entire game. Not something we've talked about, but actually been a huge factor in this game.
I think what we're seeing here is a difference of coordination and ambition. Invent the meta, definitely try to jump in, make that team fight happen, have those big plays, but they're not coordinated. Like you said, we've seen instances where they're split up. And this is a composition that needs to be together to have the damage after the follow-up. If they're able to turn that around.
We can't stand here. Like, yeah, this is just going to happen.
Eraser Joe is picking them apart. They're handing him opportunities. And he's just looking to
have
find
arrow.
the moment in the chaos. That is what Virginia Tech is trying to do and capitalize on that.
Virginia Tech knows how much this game matters. They're trying to go in and fight, but the zoning route from Malfurion is completely negating that arrow. They are bringing back DTYA with the forge, and now Dr. D is caught between a rock and a hard place, or rather a stitches.
Rock in a bunker. He is actually going to be able to escape for the moment. Eraser Joe's going to go ahead and erase Blaze, netting the 13th takedown. The Sappers continue to be marched in. The pressure continues to be applied by Missouri, who find themselves in a very commanding spot right now.
With all this pressure, we might as well call Eraser Joe Mr. Clean. He's picked off every individual target, cleaned up every team fight. Even that play up in the middle where Malfurion went down, he was ready and rotating in the moment he sensed any bit of trouble.
Now the pressure is being held in the bot lane as well, and this is something that, once again, Virginia Tech is going to have to deal with as 3 altars spawn. At this point in the game, this could be GG if all 3 are capped for the side here of Missouri. So Virginia Tech needs to stand up, need to get a solid team fight and take this game back.
Missouri only needs 2, so this is the definition of do or die for Invent the Meta. The altars will show up in a few seconds. They're split once again, though. This could be trouble.
Not Andrew is going in here up against MacDac in the front, though. Is Power actually getting attacked, though. Nicely done. Going out with the bye-bye, or the timeout, I should say, as Wenkong is putting
Chromie now, he can.
Watch
theirs, watch theirs.
Eraser is not here yet. We can keep fighting.
Tech looking to try to make things happen. There's a nice Twilight Dream from Jorlub, who's going to try to back away and has the route to success.
Tracer coming up right now.
Healthy health bars on Dr. D, lands a shadow charge on the Tracer, who zips on out of there, makes full use of that mobility.
I'll get it.
The timing on this is difficult. They need to go secure their own altar, and that's going to
that boombox is your only heal. Okay.
To get into the back line.
Tim is getting pressure.
But you got to defend it. Chill for 1 second.
Tracer's starting it.
He's fast.
I can't get there.
Could be a big factor this fight as Bunker's going down.
This very well could be it. This altar will decide this game. Bunker is going to get dropped. Diablo, Greymane hanging out in there. Diablo low again on the health. Tim with the simple geometry landing those bouncing arrows. Nice 2-person route. Jorlub making plays once again for their team. Dr. B dashes
No, amp it up. That's all I got. I've already used Break It Down.
The attention turns on the Diablo, who's trying to retreat. The Entomb says not so much.
Entomb says not so much, as Power has rejoined the fight. As Jack the one's trying to fight about in the back line, as Diablo does follow the roots to turn the pressure there on to Greymane in the back line, as well as the Gorge to isolate. This is the battle falling apart now for Virginia Tech. The arrow is trying to get DTY out, but he's in a rough spot.
This has been a long team fight. That's the second Dragon Arrow we've seen in this very team fight. Lucio is going to get taken down. Eraser Joe caps it, and that's going to be it. Missouri are able to take game number 2.
Slightly mistimed play. The fight went on too long, and just Missouri drew it out until they got their members back. Chromie shows up, and they win the game.
We're joined now by Tim from Virginia Tech to talk a little bit more about that matchup. Tim, obviously the communication in game number 2 wasn't exactly ideal. What was going on with your voice comms during that second match?
There was a lot of misplays that we were calling. We did have a lack of vision on the map at most points, and where we should have played safe, we weren't when we should have. And it's kind of simple things like that. But the one thing is we started getting frustrated, which happens occasionally from time to time, and it was just it started getting on us because, I mean, it just kind of happens that way. But it's okay that we're getting frustrated, because as a team, that means we know we can do better. So it's okay to be frustrated at times, because we know we'll learn from this and do much better the next time.
Yeah, there were definitely a couple moments there where we saw the play starting to form, but just they had the answer in their pocket there. But overall, again, a good matchup for you guys, especially looking forward.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, question for you, Tim. I really like that you said, you notice that your team's frustrated because you know that you can do better. So what I'm curious about is what was the communication like after the game to that effect? Like, how do you guys rally from this point?
So after the game, we obviously took a couple minutes and cooled off. But we got together really quickly, and we were just like, look, we obviously weren't on top of it. We're also in the middle of our spring break right now, so we were all kind of spread across the U.S. and really didn't get a chance to like practice too much together this week. It was a little unfortunate, but we're still in that vacation mode. So we kind of discussed it a little bit, and it was just we knew that we could do better, obviously. So we're actually tomorrow we're gonna be getting together before our next match, hopefully, and we're gonna work out the small things that we can do better. But we weren't really arguing with each other. It's more of just like, look, this is what we did wrong. This is what I did wrong. This is what you did wrong, and we kind of built on that.
Thanks for answering. I really appreciate that. It's cool to hear that you guys have identified things like that, and you'll be able to do very well later on.
Yeah. So my last question for you guys is strategy based. You guys came at that last game on Towers of Doom with a straightforward execution composition, but weren't able to do that. Do you guys think that you need to change the strategies, or do you think that you can stick with a strategy like that? It's just going to take a little bit more communication, a bit more time to develop.
I think we are going to change up our strategy a little bit. We went into that with the Diablo trying to like get that tracer pick off because we knew she'd be jumping around the back and hopefully like that shadow charge going in, and we went for the blaze to counteract the pulse bomb and other like the temporal loop. But I think we were too focused on maybe like our ultimates and stuff like that, so we were gonna take a step back, and because we played a pretty late game kind of comp for the most part, and we're gonna see if we can push that to go more to the early game, because this is what we've noticed in the past couple matches, not just this one but other ones, that even the ones we've won, like I'm sure you've seen in the Clemson game, is the early game we're kind of still lacking. We're trying to improve on that early game. So this is one thing that a couple of us like on our own time have been looking at, is other like comps you can play and other kind of stuff like that.
Thanks, and best of luck with your theory crafting.
Thank you.
Well, it's great to hear all that insight from you. Thank you so much for joining us here, and best of luck as the tournament continues. Thank you so much, Tim. We'll be back to wrap up our show when Heroes of the Dorm Atlantic Coast Region returns.
We just kind of got beat. They were on their game and we weren't. There was a lot of things that we could have done a lot better. We could have rotated better, had better communications, just being safe in general, and kind of play a little bit more passive versus aggressive. But we didn't have the skill today, and they are on theirs.
Honestly, no, I didn't think it would end here. I thought it'd end a lot sooner. I didn't even expect to play this year. Our whole team is mostly inexperienced as a group. We still, we hit it off very well, but we're finally at that point in level of difficulty where we need to figure out all the smaller issues that are holding us back, and we really need to analyze this a little bit further.
Welcome back to Heroes of the Dorm Atlantic Coast Region. We have had 5 fantastic teams, 5 incredible weeks of action.
And we've had 5 compelling stories. It's been really cool to hear some insights, go behind the scenes, find out their ambitions, their motivations, their goals. It's been really cool, but they're not done yet. They still can make things happen in the regional playoffs.
Yeah, we're not finished with them, and they're not finished competing. They still have an opportunity to head into the top 64 and take a shot at the national championship.
If you want to catch all of that action, go to heroesofthedorm.com, where you can find out where to watch and engage with those fantastic teams. Thank you all so much for joining us here for Heroes of the Dorm Atlantic Coast Region. It's been an absolute pleasure.